which we had last week, or we'll have a testimony, which we have tonight. And I shared a couple weeks ago that I'm always excited when we have in-person testimonies. But 2 weeks ago, I was really excited because my brother Sean shared his journey. And tonight I'm really excited because Sam, who keeps him in line, Sam, his wife, she's going to share her testimony. And it's an awesome story, and we're just going to turn her over to Sam and let her share about what God's done in her life.
All right.
Hello. I'm Sam. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus who has victory over drugs and alcohol and who is working on codependency.
Hi, Sam.
Growing up, I was home a lot. My dad left for good when I was 7, and my mom was usually at work or the bar. My grandma helped us, but there was still a lot of instability. When my mom was home, I would lash out with tantrums to either get my way or to get attention. I also acted out in school because of my unstable home life, which made it hard to fit in. In high school, I started to find where I fit in with the party crowd. It was fun drinking on the weekends and smoking weed before, after, and in between classes with these people who actually wanted to hang out with me. I used drugs and alcohol to mask my pain of abandonment and neglect, but I was still so angry at the world all the time. I had a negative outlook on life, nor did I care if my actions hurt anyone as long as I could have fun and numb myself. I began progressing in my drug use, and by the age of 19 was a full-blown addict doing any substance I could get my hands on as much as I could. That was the year I hit my bottom. I was arrested for harming someone while under the influence as a result of the life I was living. And I was continuing to spiral out of control. God used that time to stop me in my tracks as I went to jail with no bond. I was forced to sober up and see the monster I was becoming. Out of boredom in jail, while waiting to get sentenced, I started going to church. A couple of ladies would bring in Bible studies, and it wasn't long before I realized that I couldn't go on living this way and I needed a savior. It was the story of the prodigal son that hit home for me. It depicted God as this loving father who forgives me and just wants me to come home to him. A father I never had, a forgiveness I didn't deserve. One day I saw my birth father in the men's dorm while going back to myself from a little bit of outside time. I was instantly angry at the sight of him. My friends told me that I should contact him, which I responded absolutely not. That evening in my cell, I was praying to the Lord to heal me from the pain I felt from my father's abandonment. I felt God tell me to get up and write. I wrote the words on the page, but I don't feel that they came from me. It turned out to be a letter of forgiveness, and God revealed to me the secret of forgiveness being for me, not the person who harmed me. By forgiving my father, I was no longer his prisoner and no longer consumed with the bitterness that affected only me. I had allowed him to consume me in my entire childhood. I was set free from that prison of hate the moment God revealed this to me, and I was able to give my Father in heaven my earthly father to deal with. Once in a while, when my earthly father comes to my mind, I pray that he finds Jesus and finds freedom from the pain and shame that he might have. Shortly after this, I was coming up on my sentencing for the crimes I committed. I was hopeful to get a rehab program in the prison with a tentative release date of 6 to 12 months. God used a verse to comfort me in this time. Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and have good courage. Do not be afraid nor dismayed, for the Lord is with you wherever you go. I prayed this verse over and over during the entire court session. I was sentenced to 10 years with a minimum of 4 of those years to be served in prison. I only cried once. God had made a promise. He was with me, and he had a plan. He used those 4.5 years to transform me. He gave me a more positive outlook on life. He gave me a hope and a future that I didn't have before. He built wisdom and knowledge in me as he revealed his loving and gracious character to me. As I choose to read and study my Bible daily, I knew he was with me the whole way. He made me more like him and less like the person I didn't want to be anymore. And he prepared me. Meanwhile, my mom was still struggling with her alcoholism. I had told her about Jesus every time we talked. I was so excited to share what he was doing to me. I think she felt that it was good for me. I needed that, but she wasn't sure. 2 years into my prison stay, she became pregnant with my first little sister and reached a deep depression. I begged her to just give Jesus a try. What did she have to lose? She sought counseling, which led her to a Bible study, where she sat next to one of the very ladies who taught me that story of the prodigal son that led me to accepting Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Through this encounter, God revealed himself to my mom. She accepted Jesus into her life and started her own journey of recovery and has been sober ever since. God continued to prepare me. I was getting out of prison and I wanted to stay on the right path. I didn't want to be like those other women who I saw return to prison shortly after being released. I wanted this new hope and future God had planned for me. I went to a halfway house that was a 6-month Christian program for women with addiction and relationship struggles. They required that you attend at least one 12-step meeting a week. I had tried secular recovery in the past and I knew I needed something Christ-centered. That's when I found Celebrate Recovery. I was amazed that this program was for all struggles, not just addiction. I came to realize that my sobriety was only the first of many healings I would experience. At this point, I didn't know how to live sober outside of prison. I had anxiety that I didn't know how to manage, and sometimes it would manifest in anger because of not wanting to feel fear. When I was incarcerated, I began working on my healing for the first time through the 12 steps. I realized that my relationships were one of the things in my life that were unmanageable. I was only involved in a few toxic relationships, and I struggled with being unfaithful and promiscuous, since that's what I thought love looked like. I prayed for God to give me a husband and made a list of the qualities that I needed in a husband. The first on the list was loves Jesus more than me. I looked around for one and became distracted by it. I realized that this behavior was coming between me and my relationship with God. I surrendered this to God and told him I was willing to live my life single if that's what he needed me to do to serve him. Soon after, he put Sean in my life again. I knew Sean from my old life. He was actually one of my drug dealers back then. Sean had seen me post on Facebook about Jesus and sent me a message to see how I was. I was planning to attend a Christian concert the following weekend, and so was he. He had been sober and walking with the Lord for a few years himself. We met up at the concert and began to get to know each other as the new people God has transformed us to be. We prayed for what God wanted for our relationship, and through the Lord's confirmation for our will for his lives, or for his will for our lives, we were married 3 months later. I say the Lord's confirmation because I had just gone out of prison, was still in the halfway house, and no parole officer in their right mind would give a new parolee permission to get married, especially with one of my conditions being not to be in a relationship at all. But he did without biting an eye. Also, there was another encounter that I had with 3 angels the day before we were married. This was the second spiritual experience I have ever felt the presence of God so intensely. I'm blessed that Sean has chosen to be gracious and loving, as I still had some things to work on. My anxiety and anger were still things that I struggled with. I would get upset at Sean for not folding the towels right or not putting the ketchup back in the fridge where he got it so I could find it. He was my punching bag after a hard day or experience. Through my recovery in CR and continuance to work the 12 steps, God has shown me how to respect and love my husband the way the Bible says. One of these ways God has helped me be a better wife has been recognizing and dealing with my mental health. I was diagnosed with ADHD and depression at a young age. I managed to get through school by taking meds at first, then self-medicating, as you heard a few minutes ago. I'm not against meds, and I think they're totally effective when needed. God uses them to help people with chemical imbalances and extra support to get back to being okay after things happen in life. In my recovery, I was able to manage my ADHD by learning to flow with it and redirect myself back on track when I need to. Depression is a roller coaster that hits me every once in a while, and when it does, I recognize that it's a sign that I need to make some kind of change, and when I make that change, I tend to feel better. Sometimes that change is spending more time with God, setting a boundary, or taking better care of myself physically. Other times I go back and talk to my counselor or get additional encouragement and ideas of what I need to change. Let me tell you, change is not easy for me. I like consistency. This past year I was hit with the realization of an additional mental health struggle, OCD. I feel anxious when things aren't complete, or I'm not on time, or you're not on time. I think in black and white, right or wrong. I struggle hard with change and prefer a solid routine. Sometimes I need a clear set of directions on what to do and in what order, I can feel lost. Most nights I lay in bed and have intrusive, repetitive thoughts about if the crock pot is still plugged in and that I need to go make sure. so the house doesn't burn down and kill my family. Sometimes I go check so I can go to sleep soundly. Other times I'm able to give it to God and go to sleep. A lot of times I just need to laugh. I laugh at myself a lot and make light of things, which helps to reduce the negative impact some struggles can have on me. In my job, I've been able to work with other people in their recoveries from various things, and I noticed that I would get frustrated when they just couldn't make the change to do better, or they just couldn't show up on time. Through these different situations, God has shown me how to see a little bit of gray, and that other people's recovery can be and is different from mine. He also continues to show me how to give people grace, give myself grace. There are still times where OCD affects my life, and I like to think it now empowers me in my work to get things done correctly and on time. I like the fact that it helps me be aware of my surroundings. I don't have to let it cripple me with anxiety, and even though I cringe at the way people do things sometimes, I can recognize that it is what it is. I can't fix it or control it, and I can let it go. One way I've learned to let things go is to visualize myself handing it over to the hands of Jesus. Sometimes it's an object, person, or situation. I say, Lord, you love this more than me, and you can deal with it better than I can. Here you go, take it, and free me from its burden. This has also helped me with my anxiety, fear, and anger. I feel more at peace today than I've ever been. I don't feel angry all the time like I used to. Do things still frustrate me? Yeah. Do I rant sometimes? Yes, definitely. But the difference between then and now is that I can let it go right after I rant and not carry it throughout my week, month, or year. I think carrying anger became so natural to me since I carried anger of my father for the first 19 years of my existence. I've also been made aware of how these various things can cause codependency in my life, wanting to control others, the need to be perfect at work, or being angry when I feel my loved ones deserve better when it's not my battle to fight. I found my recovery from all these things through the program of CR, and I'm working through the steps with a sponsor several times. I'm about to start another one with a group in Africa. I'm so excited to see what God does next in the step study to heal me and make me a new creation. God has been so good and faithful as I choose to seek Him. I get off parole and I'm done with my 10-year sentence today. And I will be celebrating my 10-year sobriety birthday this week. God has led me into a career where I get to share my experience, strength, and hope with others every day, being a certified peer support specialist for the last 5 years. This year, God has raised me up to be able to train people to become certified and work in the mental health field, as well as mentor new hires for job training. In efforts to be good stewards with our finances, God led Sean and I to start tithing 10% of our income to a ministry in Uganda. Through being obedient in tithing, God has always provided for my needs and then some financially. Since 2018, we unknowingly at first partnered with a guy in Kitgum, Uganda to build this ministry. It started out, he was just doing outreach and meeting the needs of people in the surrounding areas while sharing about Jesus. Then it led to renting a building where people can attend church, worship, receive biblical counseling, and learn to study the Bible. In 2021, we were able to buy a plot of land in a place where there are no resources or schools. Last year, we were able to clear some of the land, grow 2 types of crops, build 2 buildings, and start a school for early elementary age children, where they learn about Jesus alongside with basic academics. This year, we have 80+ students attending. Sean and I have a heart of addiction and mental health. We were trying to figure out a way to provide a resource since there isn't any there. My sponsor reminded me that Celebrate Recovery is self-supporting and an international program. Since October, we have been training a leadership team of 14 people on Zoom to start a Celebrate Recovery there in Uganda. God is doing big work with the little that I give Him, and I am just filled with gratitude for what He's done. By looking at it all, I'm at peace with what the future may hold. Thank you for letting me share.
Is this early?
2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
Can we trust you?
Yeah.
We're here at Celebrate Recovery, and we're going to give her 10-year coin to celebrate with her for 10 years. For 10 years. That's awesome. Proud of you. And there's something else for you.
Oh my gosh.
This is her husband.
I'm Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Grateful believer in recovery. So I had this made video by Amanda in my work. She's an indigenous population, and I really kind of told her about she has an arrow on her arm, and I got a bow on mine. And some of the things she said is, she wrote this: as you look at your dream catcher, you will see as many pieces that I'll describe for you. We will start with the bow and arrow, your symbols for you and your beloved partner. The bow made of oak, the strength, and the arrow out of willow, the flexibility. The obsidian arrowhead to absorb the native energy in the world, and the feathers to help it fly straight and true. So congratulations.
Wow.
Well, if you're new to Celebrate Recovery, and maybe you are new to the journey of recovery, whenever we have someone share their testimony, we always want to give opportunity for you to say, yeah, I'm needing to start mine. Maybe your story is not like Sam's. Maybe you had other issues when you were younger, as you were growing up. Maybe they were other addictions, other behaviors, other hurts. And we're here at Celebrate Recovery to let you know that there's always hope, because as we celebrated this last week, Jesus Christ is our crucified and resurrected Lord and Savior. That in his death, he provided the forgiveness of sins from our past. And in his resurrection, he broke the power of sin that keeps us in bondage to our old ways of thinking, relating, and behaving. And we are here to encourage you, if you're willing to take the steps and to live the principles, if you're willing to realize that I'm not God, admit that I'm powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing, and that my life is unmanageable. And I doubt there is anyone here who's got it all under control. That's one of the first questions in the Step Study book, the very first one. List all the things you have control over. And I remember the first time I did it, I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Second question, list all the ways your life is unmanageable. In the beginning, journal that. Our life is unmanageable. There are so many things that we don't have control over. We have to admit that. Appreciate Sam sharing that about her life. Then we have to earnestly believe that God exists. And I always emphasize this phrase, that I matter to him. Because so often we think God is against us and that we don't matter to him. You matter to God. That's why Christ came. You matter to God. And in him is the power to recover. And so we encourage you to consciously choose to commit your life and your will to Christ's care and control. That